Printmaking has such a beautiful, rich history of being for the people, especially litho. That's how it was mass production to get information out to people. It was a quick, easy way to get information out.
Hello, print friends, and welcome. This is a bilingual podcast. So if you subscribe to us, you'll be getting episodes in English with me, as well as in Spanish with Reynaldo Gil Zambrano. Together we speak to people around the globe about their practice and passions in the field of print media and multiples. Print friends, I have an exciting opportunity to share with you. Print Austin's famous exhibition, The Contemporary Print is Back and Better Than Ever. Showing this year in a bigger venue means that more artists will get into this show. Applications are open now through October 1st, and the fee is $35 and only $10 for Print Austin members. The top 3 awardees will get interviewed on printmaking podcasts, like this one. And everyone will get a high five from Print Austin director Ben Munoz. Redeemable only through the run of the exhibition. Go to printaustin.org to learn more. In other exciting print news, voting is now open for the Southern Graphics Council Printmaking Awards. And Hello Print Friends' own Reynaldo Gil Zambrano is up for the Mid-Career Printmaker Award. So if you want to show this podcast and its people a little love, head on over to the link in the show notes for voting between now and October 10th. Hello Print Friend is brought to you by Speedball Art Products, who've been offering a diverse range of high-quality products to your practice since 1997. If you're looking to add some pizzazz to your practice, check out their new line of additive glitter. Add a sparkle of their additive glitter to any Speedball fabric screen printing ink and bring a touch of shimmer to your next design. This additive glitter can be used in nearly any ratio, whether your sparkling vision is more subtle or dripping with scintillating shine. Check out the link in the show notes. Print friends, did you know that Florence, Italy is home to Srisa, a leading institution for art and design education? It offers highly personalized instruction and experiential learning meeting American university standards for study abroad programs in fine art, liberal arts, and design. Educators who are interested in teaching at Srisa can lead a faculty-led program, utilizing its top-notch printmaking facilities in one of the world's most inspiring cities. To learn more, email info@srisa.org. That's SRISA.org. And don't forget to mention that Hello Print Friend sent you for exclusive discounts and perks. This episode is also brought to you by Legion Paper. Legion Paper is a fine art paper company that represents the best papers in the world. They either stock it, source it, or make it. With brands like Stonehenge, Somerset, Coventry, Reeves, Arches, and more, Legion is the best paper resource for every artist and printmaker's needs. Learn more about the variety of papers Legion stocks at www.legionpaper.com. My guest this week is Alyssa Ebinger. We talk about finding her way to lithography, coming from a musical family, going to the Tamarind Institute during the deep, dark heart of the pandemic, lakes and lakes of lithotine tears, and what's the future of collaborative printing. Hi, Alyssa. How's it going?
I'm good, Miranda. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you for joining me. I'm very excited to chat with you. As I was saying, I know that you and I have a lot of mutual friends. The print world is a small and lovely place. And so I've followed you a bit from afar, and I'm glad to have you in my virtual studio to get to know you better and share a bit of your story.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Wonderful. Will you kick us off by letting people know who you are, where you are, what you do?
I am Alyssa. I currently live in Austin, Texas, and I am the lithographer and collaborative printer at Flatbed Press. And I got into printmaking a long time ago. And it's, a funny path that led me here. But I'm from Minnesota, and my undergrad is actually in art education. And so I was a high school teacher for a while and realized that I missed being in the studio, and I especially missed printmaking and lithography So I went back to school. I got my master's at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Art, where I met a lot of people. I met Ron Weifels, who used to print with Jack Lemmon at Landfall Press when
Mm-hmm.
it was still in Chicago. And so he was my professor at PAFA. And then I met Deb Cheney and I met Peter Haars, who are Tamarind printers. And so while I was there doing litho, everyone was like, you should apply to Tamarind. And I laughed at them and I was like, ha, sure. But then I did. And I got into Tamarind, which was really exciting. And I got the apprentice year as well. And then that led me to Austin. So, yeah.
Wonderful. And then before all of this, and you were just growing up in the
Mhm.
Midwest, what role did art play in that part of your life?
I come from a musical family, and I do not have a musical bone in my body. My dad is a drummer. My grandpa is a guitar player. They played in a band together like my entire life. My other grandpa plays the banjo. My sister is a really great singer and piano player, and I can't do any of that. So
Oh no.
I channeled that artistic drive or whatever into drawing. And so I've been drawing since I was like in 5th grade. However, I am horrible at keeping a sketchbook. I cannot. I don't know why.
Hmm.
I try. I have a ton of them, but I just can't keep a sketchbook.
I know that feeling of I just need the perfect sketchbook that will make me good at keeping a sketchbook. I definitely know that impulse.
Yeah, and I'll be
It's not me, it's the sketchbook.
yeah.
It's like not the right size, the paper is not the right quality. Yeah.
Mhm. Or I don't have the right pen or
Uh-huh.
pencil. And yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and then I really liked drawing. And yeah, when I got into undergrad, I was like, what am I going to do? For a while, I thought I wanted to be a travel agent or like a flight attendant because I was like, I want to
Uh-huh.
travel. But then I just slid into the art classes because I was like, yeah, I liked this in high school. I'll keep doing this. And then I just kept doing it and didn't stop.
Yeah. And so what was the early making like? Were you a comic book kid who liked to draw superheroes? Were you a nature kid, an animal kid, an anime kid? What was that really early art making?
Definitely nature. I loved the National Geographic. And so I think I remember one of the first animals that I drew. It's stuck in my brain. And to me, I was like, wow, this is so good. But I don't even know where that drawing is. But it was a snowy owl. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, I liked it. So definitely nature. Minnesota, I grew up in the woods. I grew up lakes, hunting,
Hmm.
fishing, all of that stuff. So definitely nature inspired. Mhm.
Yeah. And in terms of being in a musical family, did you get a lot of encouragement for being the visual artist among them?
Yeah, and my dad likes to draw as well, and my mom is a really amazing cake decorator. And so she could like anything in frosting draw on a cake, which was pretty incredible. So, no, my family has always been really supportive, like my entire family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's nice.
wonderful. Definitely. And I love that you said that you wanted to be like a flight attendant too, or a travel agent. And did you ever like through the arts, have you gotten to fulfill some of that interest in travel and seeing things and places?
I definitely have, well, even just going to grad school, I uprooted my life and moved out to
Mm.
the East Coast, which was a huge culture shock from someone who grew up in the woods. But I loved it. I loved Philly. Philly has this
Mm.
grit that just is rough and tumble, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I
totally.
do miss Philly a little bit, but and then Tamarind brought me to New Mexico, and I'd never lived anywhere with mountains before. And
Yeah.
you were in Santa Fe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Beautiful. It's the blue of that sky I've never seen anywhere else. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an incredible part of the world. And I'm from the West, and so I may be a little bit biased, but I really do feel like there's nothing quite like it within the continental United States.
Mhm.
And when people do come over, if they've been Midwest or East Coast, like there's like kind of a learning curve for what makes a mountain that happens, I think.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that I had to realize is, so living up in Minnesota, the sun rises, especially in the summertime, so early. Like it's really light out at like
Mm-hmm.
5:30 in the morning. And I like to run. So when I moved to Albuquerque, I was like, all right, I'm going to get into this routine and run before going to class. And so I set my alarm. It's 5:30 and it's still dark out. I was like, oh, that's weird. It's then 6 o'clock and it's still dark. What is happening? And then it's like getting like past 6:30, and I was like, what? I have to get ready to go. So I went to class and everything, and then I was walking back at the end of the day, and I'm walking east towards the Sandias, and then I was like, oh, the sun has to get up over the mountain. Of course, it's not going
Yeah.
to light at 5:30. Ay,
Yeah, it doesn't have the flat of the horizon isn't the only barrier to it. Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah.
so tell me more about your time at Tamarind. I looked at your dates and it looked like you actually went during the deep dark heart of the pandemic.
I did. So my class was the last class of 8 that they've had since the pandemic. And we luckily, that first semester of Tamarind is when Brandon hammers in all of this information and just like overloads you with everything litho. So luckily, we had gotten all the education that we needed. We just missed out on the practice part of it. It happened, March? So we had gotten some graduate students. So we work with UNM and work with the grad students there to warm us up a little bit before we start working with professional artists. We did get to finish working with our professional artists right up. My press partner was Andrew Eckhart.
Oh, nice.
He's my work wife. And he and I had the last professional artist. We just finished our collaboration on Friday. And then that following Monday is when they shut everything down.
Wow.
So we were all just hanging out and not really knowing what was going to happen. Nobody knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And we had international students. So Julie was from Canada and Mike was from Netherlands and Sarah and Andrew, Australia, but they were living in the States at the time. And so all of a sudden, Julie was like, I have to go. They're telling me I have 2 days, a 2-day window for me to leave. So she had to leave. We had graduation over Zoom. Yeah, we found out apprentice printer over Zoom. And usually they try to do more of a group thing. But we adjusted. We did it, got our
Definitely.
education that we needed. And it was, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that time really well. I remember that time really well. It's probably a distinctive time in most people's memories, but that what I connected with and what you were saying. So I was living in Australia in March 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and I got also a message that all American nationals should return home. And
Yeah.
for me, though, I just was like, why would I do that? It just was so different because you were looking at the way Australia was handling the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic and the way the United States was handling the pandemic. And it just seemed like a no brainer. Even if I got stuck in Australia because international flights were shutting down, it just made a lot of sense to me to stay somewhere where there was toilet paper.
Right? I will say Out of all of the states, I was really impressed with how New Mexico handled lockdown, handled with the pandemic in general. A year earlier, if I would have been in Philly, I had friends that were still living in Philly and said it was a nightmare, and it's still a nightmare a little bit. But yeah, New Mexico did a really good job. And with Tamarind, the 8 of us those were the only people we had seen for the last 5 months. So we didn't really have to, we did follow the rules, but at the same time we were like, we've only seen these 8 people. Like we don't go anywhere.
Yeah, so you could have your, like, the intensity of the Tamarind experience created its own, what were we calling those, pods? What was the name for the,
I don't know.
there was like kind of a cute name for if you have 4 people and you promise just to see each other. So you get like some social contact. But yeah. And had you done any collaborative printing up until going to Tamarind?
I did. So back in Philadelphia with Ron Weifels, I was his graduate student assistant. Ron Weifels ran a class, his advanced litho class. He would invite an artist and actually moved around. So they call it PAFA Press. And so one year it would be the intaglio would invite an artist, and then the relief would invite an artist. And then, so the year that I was Ron's GA, it was Litho's turn. So he invited Tom Judd, who's a pretty well-known Philadelphia artist. And so his class and I collaborated with that artist. And that was the catalyst for Ron being like, you should really apply. And then meeting Deb, meeting Peter.
Yeah.
Just like tiny dipped my toe in to collaborative printmaking. But I do remember having this feeling of, this is really cool. I could do this, I think.
Yeah. What do you think it was about that collaborative experience that spoke to you? Because as we spoke of before, you were an individual practicing artist. You were somebody who drew and were used to giving voice to your own thoughts, ideas, things inside you. What was it about that shift to the collaborative nature that you think really piqued your interest?
I think it was actually just lithography in general. Because when I got accepted to PAFA, you have to state your area of emphasis. And I was like, oh, drawing, duh. And then, so I was taking all of these classes, but we had an opportunity to audit a class. And I was like, oh, a litho class, like drawing, litho, they make sense together. So I audited Ron's class, and just litho is so magical. I know all lithographers say this, and but it's so beautiful, and the steps and the process, and it's the process. I fell in love with the process all over again. And I remember one of my last critiques, it was like all printmaking, and someone was like, why don't you just show the stone? Like, why make a print? And I was like, that's not the point of printmaking. And printmaking has such a beautiful, rich history of being for the people, especially litho. That's how it was, mass production to get information out to people. It was a quick, easy way to get information out. And it's, I don't know, a long way to answer that question is it was definitely litho. And I don't really care if I'm doing it for myself or for someone else. I just love litho.
Yeah. It's so funny that you said that you love the process, that you're like, it's the process for litho. Because I feel like for so many people and so many printmakers out there, the process of litho makes them want to cry in a corner.
I mean,
I've definitely seen litho tears before in my time in print studios.
My friend Maggie coined the term lithotine tears. So, yeah, lots of lithotine tears at Tamarind. Definitely. And before and after. But that's every time a hiccup happens or something happens in litho, whether any printmaking process, something's going to go wrong. It is inevitable. My favorite part is figuring out like why it happened. Okay, I have this line running down my print. Like, why? What is that? Is it the tympan? Is it the newsprint? Is it the scraper bar? What, so many things, so many variables. And I think I like the troubleshooting part of it as well. Not all the time, because it does. You're right. It makes you want to cry. But when you figure it out, then you're like, yeah, I did it. I did a thing. I fixed it.
That's great. That's great. No, I feel like with lithos, it has maybe more so than any of the big traditional print processes, has so much an unseen action, the actual creation of the image, where you're just trusting that the chemicals are doing what they're supposed to do, that this natural reactive process is going to follow the laws of nature, that grease and water is going to repel. Right. Whereas you're carving a wood block, you can see, is there wood there still or is there not wood there still?
And if you accidentally carve something away, you just put a little putty there and it's there again.
Do you have any advice for anyone who is maybe really wanting to get into lithography, but they're maybe a little intimidated by the process, or maybe someone who's even dipped their toe in and is currently in their lithotine tears right now and feeling a little discouraged?
Oh, you have to have patience. And again, with any printmaking process, it needs patience. And you also have to give, especially litho, you have to give each step the time that it needs. There is no rushing anything in litho. And if you do, it's going to bite you later. A lot of us learned that at Tamarind. And it's one of those processes where it forces you to slow down. Like, you cannot cut corners. And I know, especially if it's like the end of the semester and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to get this done for a critique tomorrow. That gives me anxiety just thinking about that. But if you want to save yourself the headache, slow down and just give it the time that it needs. You will thank yourself in the future for doing that. Is it going to go seamlessly? Probably not. There's always something. But if you are able to recount your steps and be like, okay, I did this, so that's not the problem. I did this, so that's not the problem. And I did this. So it's also just a checks and balance too. It takes time. And I know now in this era that we are living, it's really hard to slow down and take time. And maybe that's why I love it so much too, is it forces you to stop and analyze and think about what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really nice answer. When you're talking, I was reminded of when I interviewed Jack Lemmon, and he told me that he had a list that he would give students. That's just the 12 things you needed to do to have lithography never go wrong. And I was like, where's this list, Jack?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'll get it for you. And then the next week, I lost the list. I don't have it anymore. And it was just like, oh.
I bet he was pulling your leg.
Yeah. He just was like, yeah, there's this secret knowledge that I just don't have anymore. So you never have to cry over litho. This is the way to do it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But no, I think kind of respecting the process and giving it the time that it needs is huge. Yeah, is huge.
Yep. And it takes practice too, because I learned all of this stuff in the desert and then moved to Austin, which could not be more polar opposite in terms of humidity and temperature learning curve for me. And one thing that's great about Tamarind is we have this network of printers where if something's going catastrophic, you just reach out to someone. And so my go-to person is Jake Ingram of Jackalope Press in Knoxville.
Oh, yeah.
And he and I all the time are like, so this happened. What's going on? And then we sit and talk it through, and it's so helpful. It's really nice to be able to have that network. But it's amazing what humidity and temperature does to litho.
Can you talk more about that? Because I've heard that before. I'm definitely not a lithographer. I married a lithographer, but it's
Yeah.
still secret magic. But it's a theme that I've heard talking to printmakers all over the world. Like between
Mhm.
Ronaldo and myself, we've talked to people in over 30 countries. So we hear how climate changes things. But
Yeah.
in your experience, how did that manifest in the actual making that you had to adjust to?
The first that I realized is just paper. Paper
Mm.
absorbs moisture. Of course it does. So I was doing an edition and it had a chine element. And so with litho, you do it in reverse where you do the collé first and then you print, where, with etching, it's all simultaneous and happens at one time. And I got like over halfway through the edition. We broke for lunch and I came back, and I'm not kidding you, like an eighth of an inch, like everything had shifted. And I was like,
Mm.
what did I do? Because, of course, the first thing, one lesson that Valtteri says is it's usually your fault. And so if something's going wrong, it's usually the printer's fault. So I was like, what did I do? Where did I mess up? And so I'm going and like checking everything, checking my registration. We have a registration mylar, checking the stone, all the previous runs. And then I was like, I checked the humidity, and we were at 74% humidity in the shop, where in the
Mm.
morning, like early in the morning, we were at 40 something. And I was like, wow, paper, humidity, that is causing my problems right now. So I had to adjust the registration. Another thing is my aluminum ball grain plates like to oxidize a lot faster,
Oh, I
which is
bet.
weird. I feel, okay, this is a theory, and some other lithographers could be like, that's not right. And they'll tell me, which is great because I want to know. I feel like all the extra moisture, I don't know if it like breaks down the gum adsorb or what, I don't know. But areas oxidize more. And then on my photo plates, they just scum like crazy.
Hmm.
No matter what I do, I could not calm it down. And then I got a dehumidifier. So I have this little dehumidifier that sits at the end of my press, and it's amazing. All my
And it's
problems are
just
gone.
problem solved. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild though that even just throughout the day, the humidity changed because we don't really have a climate controlled print shop. So, where some shops, like it's a constant,
Right.
72 degrees and beautiful all the time. Not.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting and really helpful. And of course, makes me wonder what our lithographers of days of yore would do if a rainstorm came through Paris in the spring all of a sudden. And then
I
what do
know.
you do?
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. I've thought about that too. Like all of the new like innovations and technologies that we have now, even over the last 50 years, 60 years, litho has changed. And yeah, what did they do? What did they do? I would love to know.
So I'd love for you to talk a little bit, if you can, a bit more about the collaborative process as it relates artistically to working with another artistic being, another creative person,
Yeah.
and just sort of stuff around like how do you approach a collaboration? If you get introduced to somebody, do you have a checklist where you think about, I always go in and this is how I test the waters, or this is how I understand how they communicate, or anything like that? Because it's being a collaborative lithographer, of course, is technical. It's very technical, but it's also very social as
Yeah.
well. Like you
Yeah.
need to have a broad set of skills to be successful.
I like to obviously have a conversation first with the artist, whether it's over Zoom or if they're local, they come in, and or doing a studio visit. Doing a studio visit is
Mm.
really helpful because for an artist, that's a solitary job. And it's also very personal, very emotional. So as the collaborative printer, you have to gain that person's trust. And if you don't have their trust, how are you ever? It's not going to be a great collaboration because they
Yeah.
have to trust you with their ideas, with their art. They're letting you into their like sacred space, their personal space. And so, as the collaborative printer, you also have to treat it with care and let them know that you care about it as much as they
Mm.
care about it, and that they have to trust you. And you need to let them know that you are going to be side by side with them and we're going to get through this together.
Yeah.
And some artists, it's hard for them to do that. And it's hard for them to give up control. And as the collaborative printer, my job, I need to know what materials are they comfortable with using. If they're a painter, I'm not going to give them litho crayons. Maybe we'll do some toner washes or have them paint on mylar with acrylic or some touche washes. Or you just have to get to know the artists and know what makes them comfortable and start to speak their language. And same with
Mm.
color. Color is all relative. And I actually have a really funny story about color. I was working
Great.
with an artist. His name is David Everett. And he's from Texas and he does wildlife, Texas wildlife. And he's been doing birds lately. And so he came in and he had a wood block of a cardinal. And he's, all right, I was like, what color are you thinking? Obviously, I knew he wanted a cardinal red, but maybe he had something different. And he's, yeah, cardinal red. And I was like, cool. So we're sitting and I'm mixing the ink and I made in my brain a cardinal red. And he's, oh, that's really nice. It needs to be a little warmer. And I was like, really? Okay, cool. And so I made it a little warmer. He's, no, it needs to be a little warmer. And so we had this like back and forth. And I was like, what cardinal are you looking at? And he's like a Texas cardinal. And so he pulled up a picture and I was like, wow, that is not what our Midwest cardinals look like. And so in my brain, I was mixing a cardinal red for like northern cardinals, not realizing
Yeah.
in my brain, I was like, a cardinal is a cardinal. It's red. Nope.
Yeah. Because it's not just artistic experience, but life experience. Like, what does a cardinal look like? Yeah.
Yeah. So, fun fact, southern cardinals are warmer.
Appropriately.
Appropriately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes artists drag their feet a little bit. I did have an artist one time where I was like, okay, I have an idea and we're just going to take this. It's like counterintuitive because usually with litho or most printmaking processes, you start light and then work to dark. And I was like, we're going to take this light color and we're going to put it on top and it's going to push these things back. And I was like, just trust me. I promise. I promise it's going to do what I'm saying it's going to do. And you have to get them to believe you and trust you because they don't always know what the end product, especially if they've never
Right.
done printmaking before. It's so hard for them to see how these layers are going to come together. So they have to trust that what you're doing. And because we as printers, we can visualize the end. We can see, we know how to get there. And so it's our job to guide the artist and hold their hand. And we can give suggestions and things like that, which is part of the collaboration. Yeah, just we will get to the end together and it will be beautiful.
Yeah. Where do you think that kind of fear or trepidation, if fear is too strong a word, comes from for artists? Are they worried that something's going to have their name on it that doesn't feel true to them, do you think? Do you think that it's letting go of control if they're usually a solo practicing artist?
Yeah, I definitely think it's the giving up control, but also it's a new medium for probably like 85 to 90% of the artists that we work with.
Right.
So anytime you're trying something new and doing it for the first time, yeah, you're going to be a little scared. And they, I think, also have that pressure of, oh, I want this to be good, because it's a partnership between the publishing press and the artist, depending on what scenario they've worked out as far as co-publishing or anything like that. But it's pressure on them as well, I think, to make sure that it's quote unquote good. They want it to be
Yeah.
great. Right.
Yeah.
We do too. But
Totally. What do you see of as your role in it? And what I mean by that is I've talked to a few collaborative printers, and some of them really see themselves as, I am just a conduit. Some of them see
mhm.
themselves as, no, I am a collaborator. Or I am an artist working alongside another artist. Or some people say, I'm just a means to an end.
Yeah,
For you, where do you fall on that scale with your relationship to the work?
I feel like I'm all of those. I do. I know that's like an easy answer. I guess not so much artist. It's weird. I was just having this conversation with my dad, actually. I don't feel like an artist. And I know I am, but I definitely feel like a conduit, a means to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And it is my job to make sure that the artist is comfortable, to help the artist achieve the end goal, which is a fine art print and something that they're happy with, but also something that is theirs and true to their work. We never want to replicate what they're doing. You don't want to copy a painting, because we're
Right.
not reproduction. We're
Yeah.
an original fine art print. That's what we're
Yeah.
doing.
That's what is the
And
confusion for everyone. Yes. Yeah.
I know. Uh, so it has to make sense to them. It has to make sense with their work. And I was talking to Richard Newland from Houston Fine Art Press, and he said that he wanted the print and the painting to live on the same wall, and to not, like, one not have more power over the other, but they live together
Mm.
in the same space and they make sense together. But one is very much a painting and one is very much a print. So, yeah, wise
Yeah.
words.
Yeah. And I think what that speaks to is needing to really use the strengths of lithography, if we're talking about a lithograph,
Mm-hmm.
and not try and make it a reproduction of a painting. There are
Mm-hmm.
things you can do in lithography that you can't do in painting, and vice versa. If you're trying to put the square peg in the round hole, you're going to be disappointed. But if
Yeah.
you understand that this is a whole nother aesthetic palette that you can dive into to create something that is yours but new, I think you'll
Mm-hmm.
be a lot happier.
Yeah. And accessible. That's the whole point of
Mm,
printmaking. And back to what I said earlier, is print is for the people. It's supposed to be accessible. And we like to joke that print collecting is the gateway drug to art collecting. So,
yeah, I agree. I agree. I have a print collection, as I say, like hang around a barber shop, you get a haircut. So I've spent enough time in print spaces. And I have prints from like lithographs from Hung Lu that she did at Tamarind.
oh,
This woman
wow.
who's in a major museum in the United States who was the first Asian American woman to have a full-on retrospective at the National Portrait Gallery in Washington,
Mhm.
D.C. at the Smithsonian. Like this
Mhm.
truly echelon talented, wonderful person.
Yeah,
Like I have a piece of her original art that she made at Tamarind
yeah.
because I could afford it. And it's not big, but it's lovely. And
Mhm.
I feel, I don't know, it's when you have those experiences through print, it almost feels like just touching a little bit of art history in a way, and having a little bit of it in your home. And then it's, yeah. And then I have like works that people have casually given me through friendship and collaboration. And those are precious to me as well because they're a connection to someone that I know and care about. And
Mhm.
because they didn't need to be precious with this woodcut or this silk screen, I get to have it in my home, in my space now, and think about them. And so it's just,
Yeah.
I feel like it works top to bottom
Mhm.
in that way. Yeah.
Mhm. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's you know, Tamarind obviously has like a 60 plus year history of working with artists, and with the one really incredible thing about the apprenticeship is you get to work with some incredible artists. And I have two prints worked with these artists, two of them, and they're both in the Whitney Biennial right now, which is
Mm,
so wild. It's a weird thing to think about.
it is. And it is thrilling. And I think that there's a whole conversation to be had about like the hierarchy in the art world and the gatekeeping and the blah, blah. And that there are people who are kept out of the spaces that deserve it and people who are let in. And that's all definitely true, but there's something thrilling about. I was at the National Gallery, the Contemporary Wing, a few months ago, I think last autumn. And they had an exhibition up of contemporary Indigenous art. And I go around a corner and there's an installation from John Hitchcock. And you just walk in and you're like, I have prints from that person. It's a kind of a thrill.
Yeah.
It's like, here I am in the National Gallery, and there's my friend whose
Yeah.
work that I've collected with work running all up the wall, like a beautiful
Mhm.
piece. Yeah, it is a really lovely part of what we do and being in this world for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It sounds like you're really comfortable with this idea of being a conduit or of being a means to an end. And I was wondering if that maybe had to do with the fact that you keep a personal practice as well. So you make for you and you work collaboratively. So maybe when you put on the cap of artist or do the code switch to artist, you have a space for that because that's you and you're making.
I, weirdly enough, do not have my own personal practice. I haven't made anything since Tamarind when we had to.
Really?
And honestly, it's been going on 3 years now, and I'm okay with that because
Okay.
I work my brain enough at work that I haven't felt this need to make my own work because I think I get enough stimulation working with the artists, and I just like making other people's work. And not that I
Mm.
don't like to draw, and there's nothing like drawing on a lithostone. Again, I know every lithographer says that, but try it, people. It's amazing. And but yeah, it's just every artist is a different set of this is going to sound bad, a different set of problems. I don't mean them as the problem. They're what they bring to the table, and different situations, different innovations. I say innovations. Everything I've done has more than likely been done already. And it's different, it's new and exciting, it's fresh every time a new artist comes in. And yeah, I just haven't wanted to.
I didn't realize that because you have a personal work section of your website. And so that's why I
Yeah.
was asking about it. Is I was like, oh, you've got some stuff there. But no, I also think it's really interesting that and really rewarding, it sounds like,
Mm-hmm.
to put the creative energy into the creative problem solving and into the image making. And
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful. What do you see is the future for collaborative printmaking? Because I think we're in a really interesting time right now, full stop, but also in the commercial art world. And collaborative printing is really intimately tied to the commercial art world, maybe more so than other forms of art making, if you consider murals or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
installation work or time based work. Collaborative printmaking really has that feed into the system. And we were talking earlier about a collector and being like collecting art and how much joy I get from having lithos from people. And so this isn't a poo at all on that connection, but it is a very intimate symbiotic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in a kind of interesting season or time of transition, I think, for that. So I would just like to hear your thoughts as someone who's in it. What do you see as the future? Do you see things changing, or what is it? Yeah.
I my optimistic hope is that it keeps going and growing. And I do think, especially after the pandemic, when everybody was like forced to be away from each other, now there's like a resurgence of human connection, human interaction.
Yeah.
And we've noticed here that we're booked into 2025 already, which is great.
Yeah.
And I do hope that it keeps going. It is a little hard and a little daunting to think about materials. I know
Yeah.
print shops across the world are having problems getting materials and getting like quality materials. So that is a factor in the continuation of collaborative printmaking. But I think, and especially as generations like move into the next steps of life, art is important. People like art
Mm.
has been around forever. And like we were saying before, like printmaking is an easy, just one step into collecting. And especially artists, like artists and galleries, or we need to educate them that like this is another accessible way for people to collect you and to know about you. That's a lot to put on a print shop. Not only do you have to do this and this, but you need to be great at social media. You have to be amazing at marketing.
Yeah.
You have to educate the world. So it's a big job, but I know a lot of people that are doing incredible stuff right now. And I hope, I can feel it. I think it's going to keep going.
I wonder too if part of it involves evolution as well in the part of the print shops, on the part of the collaborative printers. And I think sometimes people get worried about it because they see it as something that's a traditional art that's in time. But
Yeah.
lithographers have always adapted. And
Mhm.
as you say, like issues with supplies, I was talking to Brandon about that and SGCI in Providence just a few months ago. But
Mhm.
things evolve, and
They,
people evolve and solutions pop up. And I
mhm.
think so for a an institution like Flatbed, if we can talk a little bit about logistics. I know some institutions are like, nope, that's behind the curtain. But you obviously do publishing, but you do like contract printing as well to help keep everything
Mhm.
going. And then when you do publishing, do you do a split with the artist? Do you like, how does the ins and outs of actually keeping the lights on and keeping the gears go forward in that way work?
So we do have the publishing. We have contract printing that we do, and we actually have printers who used to be interns that we've trained in. And our go-to person is Paige, and so she does a lot of the contract jobs for us. And then we also have a community shop. So we have members, we have classes, so that helps keep that side going. And we have had to adjust our publishing model a little bit. We used to split 50-50, and now, depending on the artist, depending on how established the artist is, we'll do more of like a 80-20 break or
Mm-hmm.
a 75-25. So the artist gets most of the edition, and then what we just
Mm-hmm.
review. So then they can sell what they have, we can sell what we have. Because I know in the past it was, and I know a lot of shops that do this too, or some shops will just take on the full responsibility of publishing and selling and then splitting
Yeah.
whatever profits you get with the artist. But that's especially, again, back to materials, like the cost of materials is, oh my gosh. So that's a big risk to ask a shop, especially if it's a shop that's just starting out, to take the hit on that and just eat $2,000 or $3,000 and hope that in the next 3 or 4 years they make that back. It's it's a scary thing, but people are doing it. So
and people are continuing. You mentioned Jake earlier, who's just recently started Jackalope Press. People are there's institutions like Flatbed, like Tamarind, who are making it work, and people who are opening up new ones and making it work. So
exactly,
somehow we all just keep plugging forward.
And I think that is the artist in people, is like, you just do it. You have to do whatever you have to do to get it done. And I think it's artists and printmakers, and they just have this inherent grit and just, I'm going to do it. Watch me do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's a beautiful note to wrap up on, that the art making is the grit, and also a bad litho pun for,
my, so punny, I didn't even know it.
But so just love it if you could let people know where to find you, where to follow you, where to see the work that you're doing, where to see if you have any cute dogs, anything like that.
I have 2 cute cats. I would love
cute cats is definitely allowed in that. Yeah.
So my Instagram is, what is my Alyssa M. Ebinger is my Instagram, and then at Flatbed Press. And Instagram, website, same, flatbedpress.com, alyssaebinger.com.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I'll put links to those in the show notes. And thanks for having a beautiful litho love chat with me today.
Thanks for letting me nerd out on litho.
And that's our show for this week. Join me again in 2 weeks' time when my guest will be Anthony Huan, a Taiwanese-American artist with a background in journalism and professional ballroom dance. He makes large-scale printmaking installations and intimate portraits of the moon. You won't want to miss it. If you liked today's episode, we have a Patreon where you can support our podcast and get bonus content, like Shop Talk Shorts with past guests. But the very best thing you can do to support this podcast is listen, rate, follow, and share with your fellow print friends around the world. This episode, like all episodes, was written and produced by me, Miranda Metcalf, with editing by Timothy Pauschak and music by Joshua Weber. I'll see you in 2 weeks.